You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. And as always, I apologize for all of my Hebrew pronunciation. I know I'm going to pronounce Hebrew words wrong, so instead of getting annoyed, I give you permission to laugh at how I say things. Today's topic is the Tallit. You know, that prayer shawl that makes Jews look like they're about to either pray deeply or audition for a Jedi role in Star Wars. It's one of the most recognizable Jewish ritual items, but most people don't know the details. Is it just a fancy scarf? Does it have secret powers like Doctor Strange's cloak? Not quite, but it is loaded with symbolism, tradition, and some very specific rules. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why Jews wrap themselves in it, what those knotted strings are all about, and why some tallitot, that's plural, look like they're straight out of a fashion show. The tallit shows up in Jewish life because of a direct Torah commandment. In Numbers, God tells the Israelites to wear fringes, called tzitzit, on the corners of their garments, and to include a thread of blue, techelet, as a reminder of God's commandments. Think of it as an ancient Fitbit, but instead of buzzing your wrist to remind you to walk, it's dangling strings reminding you to follow mitzvot. Over time, Jews took that command and made a special garment, the tallit, to hold those tzitzit. Without tzitzit, a tallit is basically just a blanket with branding issues. With them, it becomes a walking sermon. Every string and knot says, "Remember the commandments." There's even a mystical math game. Counting the Hebrew letters in tzitzit, adding the knots and strings, gives you 613, the traditional number of mitzvot. So the tallit isn't random religious fashion. It's literally wearable Torah math. There are actually two kinds of tallit, the tallit gadol and the tallit katan. The tallit gadol is the big one you usually see at synagogue, draped around the shoulders like a holy cape. It's often white with black or blue stripes, sometimes silver or gold trim if you want to look extra fancy. The tallit katan is like the light version, a smaller garment worn under or over regular clothes, with tzitzit hanging out. That's what many Orthodox Jewish men wear daily, kind of like a spiritual undershirt. Think Superman, except instead of hiding tights under his clothes, it's strings reminding you to be a mensch. Some kids even wear tiny versions. It's like a starter pack for Jewish responsibility. The two tallitot show the flexibility of the mitzvah. You can literally carry it with you all day, or wrap yourself up in it during prayer. Either way, the tzitzit are the star of the show. The tallit is just the delivery system. So how do you actually wear a tallit? There's a ritual. First, you hold it up, check the tzitzit, and say a blessing. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to wrap ourselves in tzitzit. Then you throw it around your shoulders. Some people do a cool cape swirl move, others drape it neatly. Sephardic Jews often cover their heads with it, like a personal prayer tent, while Ashkenazi Jews usually just wear it on the shoulders. During parts of the service, you might see people gathering the fringes in their hands, kissing them at certain prayers, or wrapping them around fingers. It's like spiritual fidgeting. And during the priestly blessing, Kohanim, descendants of the priestly class, actually use the tallit to cover themselves and sometimes even drape it over the congregation. So yeah, it's not just clothing, it's a whole choreography. Who wears a tallit? Traditionally, it's Jewish men once they hit bar mitzvah age. In many communities, married men are expected to wear one during prayer, while unmarried guys just use the tallit katan. But today, especially in liberal movements like Reform and Conservative Judaism, women also wear tallitot. And not just wear them, they've designed gorgeous ones in every fabric, color, and style you can imagine. Silk with watercolor patterns, rainbow stripes for inclusivity, even sports team-themed ones. Yes, a New York Yankees tallit exists. Talk about divided loyalties between God and baseball. In Orthodox communities, women usually don't wear a tallit, though some modern Orthodox women do. The key thing is, the tallit isn't just tradition-bound. It's evolving. Every Jew who wears one is saying, "This is my connection to the commandments." And that makes the tallit a deeply personal expression of Jewish identity, even while following ancient rules. Let's talk about those tzitzit strings, because they're the most important part. Each tzitzit is made by wrapping and knotting threads in a special pattern. The Ashkenazi tradition uses one style, the Sephardic tradition another, and Yemenite Jews have their own twist. Literally. Then there's the famous missing thread, the tallit, that special blue dye mentioned in the Torah. For centuries, Jews couldn't find the source of that dye, which came from a particular Mediterranean snail, so tallitot just had white fringes. But in the last century, scientists and rabbis claimed they rediscovered it, and now some tallitot proudly rock a blue strand. It's like bringing back an extinct fashion trend, except instead of bell-bottoms, it's commandments. Whether or not you have the blue thread, the tzitzit still serve their purpose, to remind you of mitzvot every time they dangle in your line of sight. They're both ancient tech and timeless accessory. The tallit also plays cameo roles in Jewish life events. At weddings, the bride and groom sometimes stand under a chuppah, wedding canopy, made from a tallit, symbolizing the new home they're building. At circumcisions, a tallit might be draped around participants. At funerals, a tallit is placed over the deceased, though one tzitzit is cut off to symbolize the end of performing mitzvot. Bar and bat mitzvah kids often receive their first tallit as a gift, making it both a fashion statement and a rite of passage. Some Jews even use their tallit as a spiritual comfort blanket, wrapping themselves in it during private prayer, like a cozy reminder of God's presence. So while it starts as a ritual object for synagogue, it ends up woven into all kinds of Jewish milestones. It's like the Swiss Army knife of Jewish textiles, adaptable, symbolic, and always meaningful. Now let's address the rules of the tallit category, because Judaism always comes with rules. A tallit should have 4 corners. That's where the tzitzit attach. If a garment doesn't have 4 corners, no fringes are required. That's why Jews don't put tzitzit on t-shirts or hoodies. The tallit must be big enough to wrap around the shoulders, otherwise it doesn't count as a tallit gadol. You're supposed to treat it respectfully, no dragging on the floor or tossing it like a gym towel. Some people even kiss it if it falls. And if the tzitzit strings get ripped, tangled beyond repair, or are missing knots, you can't use it until it's fixed. In other words, maintenance required. And just like with kashrut or Shabbat, the details differ by community. Ashkenazi halacha might be stricter on size, Sephardic halacha more flexible on knots, but everyone agrees, tzitzit are the non-negotiable heart of the tallit. Beyond rules, there's mystical meaning too. In Kabbalah, the tallit is described as surrounding you with divine light, like a spiritual force field. Wrapping yourself in it is like stepping into sacred space. That's why some Jews cover their head entirely during prayer. It's not hiding, it's enveloping yourself in holiness. The stripes on the tallit? Some say they represent rays of divine light or the staff of Moses. Others just think it's timeless design. Either way, the tallit is more than fabric and string. It's a daily hug from God, a reminder you're wrapped in commandments and community. And the act of putting it on, pausing, blessing, wrapping, slows you down and sets the mood for prayer. It's like a reset button for your soul. You could show up at synagogue stressed about work emails, but once you're inside a tallit, it's harder not to feel, well, cloaked in purpose. So let's wrap this up. Pun very much intended. The tallit is one of those Jewish things that looks simple but carries layers of meaning. At its core, it's a garment for tzitzit, fulfilling a Torah commandment. But in practice, it's also a badge of Jewish identity, a comfort object, a teaching tool, a wedding canopy, and a mystical blanket of light. It has rules, but also room for personal style. It connects you to ancient Israelites while letting you pick stripes that match your sneakers. And whether you wear one every day or only on special occasions, the tallit is like a bridge between you and God, between tradition and creativity, between math and mysticism. Next time you see someone put one on, don't just think scarf. Think spiritual wearable tech, 3,000 years in the making. And that's the tallit. One shawl, endless meaning.